Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. I knew something inside my son had changed the moment he climbed up onto that chair. We were at my mother's house. Everyone was there, my brother, his wife, my aunt, even my mom's new boyfriend. They were laughing over something on their phones, not even noticing the boy standing silently in the middle of the living room. Liam cleared his throat and said, "Mom, should I play the video I made for them?" He was holding my phone. The room didn't go quiet because anyone was listening, it went quiet because he pressed play. I swear no one touched their phone after that. But let me back up. I want you to understand what led to this moment because it didn't come from drama, it came from a kind, soft-hearted kid being ignored by the very people who were supposed to show up for him. My name's Jenna. I'm 36, a single mom, and I've been raising my son Liam on my own since he was 6. His dad and I split 2 years ago, and since then we've been trying to rebuild a new kind of normal. It's been just the two of us, and while it's not always easy, we've made a pretty great team. Liam is the kind of kid who remembers everything, every detail, every word you say to him, every time you laugh at one of his jokes, and every time you brush him off. He never says it out loud, but you can see it in his eyes when something hurts him. For the past 2 years, we've celebrated his birthday quietly, me, him, a few cupcakes, maybe a movie night. But this year he wanted more. He wanted his family. "Do you think Grandma will come this time?" he asked me 2 days before his birthday. He was sitting at the kitchen table, cutting out little paper stars for decorations. I hesitated. "I think she might. You know she gets busy sometimes. And Uncle Ryan." I tried to smile. "Maybe we'll remind them." I sent out the invites. I texted my mom, Karen, who always finds something passive to say. This time it was, "Don't overdo it. He's too sensitive anyway." I texted Ryan, my older brother, who left me on read, not a word. But Liam still had hope. He kept making things, cards for each person, paper hats, a silly skit he wrote and wanted to perform. And when the day came, he sat at the window for an hour waiting. No one showed up. No call, no card, not even a birthday text. We still had cake. We still lit a candle, and I told him how proud I was of him, but I could tell he was holding something inside. He asked if he could use my phone that night, and I said, sure. He opened iMovie. For the next few days, he was quiet but focused. He kept asking me how to cut clips, how to add voiceover, how to put music underneath a video. I asked what it was for, and he just said, "Something I want to remember." I didn't press. Sometimes the best thing you can do as a parent is give your kids space to express what they're feeling without interrupting it with your own. 2 weeks later, my mom invited us to dinner. It was a casual thing, Sunday roast, the whole family around the table. I wasn't planning on going, but Liam looked up from his. I made a bowl of cereal that morning and said, "Can we go?" "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I want to bring the video." And that's how we ended up there, surrounded by people who forgot his birthday like it was just any other Tuesday. That's why, when he stood on that chair holding my phone with both hands and asked, "Should I play the video I made for them?" my heart started racing. I had no idea what was about to happen, but he pressed play and everything changed. I never imagined I'd be raising Liam alone. We lived in Phoenix before the divorce. My ex-husband, Adam, was charming but emotionally distant. He wasn't cruel, just missing, absent in the way that matters most when you're trying to build a life together, especially when there's a child involved. When we separated, I packed up what I could fit into the back of a Subaru and we drove across state lines back to Ohio, where I grew up. I thought maybe moving closer to my family would give Liam a stronger support system. I pictured Sunday dinners, holiday baking, my mom occasionally picking Liam up from school. It wasn't about convenience, it was about belonging. That was 2 years ago. Since then, I've come to terms with the fact that my family doesn't operate like that, at least not for us, not for me. My mother, Karen, has always been the kind of woman who prides herself on being tough. She doesn't cry, doesn't hug. She likes order. She says things like, "Children need structure, not affection," and believes if you feel something too strongly, you're probably being dramatic. Her love is conditional, mostly based on appearances. If you look like you've got your life together, she tolerates you. If you don't, she keeps her distance and lets you feel it. My older brother, Ryan, is like a colder version of her, a loud, sarcastic presence who sees emotional expression as a weakness. He doesn't talk to you, he talks at you. He has a high-paying job in tech, a perfectly curated Instagram, and a deep belief that if something doesn't benefit him, it's not worth his energy. And then there's me, Jenna, a 36-year-old mom working remote freelance jobs to keep our little rental house afloat. I'm not flashy, I'm not perfect, but I am steady. I've built a quiet, meaningful life around my son. He's my world. Don't say that for sympathy, I say it because it's true. Liam is 8 now. He has my eyes, big, brown, curious, and his dad's artistic streak. He makes short stop-motion movies using his Legos and narrates them like he's directing a Hollywood premiere. He asks a million questions, notices everything, and feels everything. He's not loud about his emotions, but they live just beneath the surface. If someone speaks harshly, he doesn't cry, he just gets quiet. If he feels ignored, he won't whine, he'll disappear into a sketchbook or into himself. He's sensitive in a way that makes me fiercely protective of him because I know the world doesn't make space for boys like that. So birthdays, they mean something to us. Not just cake and presents, they're rituals. They're reminders that we're not invisible, that we matter. Every year, I plan something simple but intentional: homemade decorations, a handwritten card, a surprise breakfast. It's my way of showing Liam that he is seen, that he is loved. And this year, for the first time, he asked if his grandma and Uncle Ryan could come. I froze when he said it. We were in the car on the way to Target to get party streamers, and he said it so casually, like he was just thinking out loud. Do you think Grandma and Uncle Ryan would want to come this time? I gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. I think maybe I said, we'll ask them, and we did. I texted my mom a cheerful invitation. I told her we were doing a small backyard party, just balloons and cake, nothing fancy. Her reply came 3 hours later: I'm probably busy that weekend. Don't overdo it, he's too sensitive anyway. I stared at the screen for a long time. I sent a similar message to Ryan. He saw it but didn't respond. But Liam stayed hopeful. He kept cutting out paper stars and coloring them with his markers. He made reserved name cards for each guest and even wrote little jokes on the backs of them. All I could think was, please, someone show up for him just this once. The morning of Liam's birthday started like any other. I woke up early to hang the streamers he'd picked out at the dollar store: blue, green, and gold, his favorite colors. I'd stayed up the night before baking a lopsided chocolate cake that had cooled unevenly, but Liam said it looked epic, so I didn't try to fix it. He came into the kitchen still in his pajamas, his hair sticking up in every direction, eyes wide with excitement. Do you think they'll be here by lunch? He asked. I smiled as gently as I could. Maybe they know the time. I had sent the invitation twice, 1 week before and again the night before. I even added a little picture of Liam from last year's birthday with the message he's been counting down the days. No response still. We kept busy. We blew up balloons and taped stars to the patio fence. Liam kept checking the clock, glancing toward the driveway every time he heard a car pass. Each time, his face lit up, then dimmed. At noon, we brought out the cake. I lit the candles, just us two, like every other year. Liam tried to keep his smile steady as he made a wish and blew them out. Afterward, he sat quietly at the kitchen table with a slice of cake barely touched on his plate. I sat across from him, unsure what to say. The silence between us felt heavier than I expected. I reached for my phone and opened my messages. Still nothing. No happy birthday text, no apology for missing it, not even a like or emoji. I stared at the screen in disbelief. This wasn't just forgetting, this was a choice. It was Ryan's choice to see my message, ignore it, and go about his day. It was my mother's choice to call him too sensitive and not even bother pretending she cared. And what made it worse, I knew. They weren't actually busy. I'd seen my mom post a photo that morning of her and her boyfriend at brunch, mimosas, perfectly lit, fake smiles. Ryan had tweeted something snarky about family drama being exhausting just an hour before. It felt like someone was stomping on my chest, not for me but for Liam. He didn't cry, he didn't throw a tantrum. He just sat there, fiddling with the corner of his napkin, eyes distant. Then he said, almost to himself, Mom, can I use your phone for a bit? Sure, I said. What for? He shrugged. I just want to make something. He took my phone and walked to his room. Later that night, I checked on him. He was sitting cross-legged on the carpet, my phone propped up on a pillow, tapping through clips in iMovie. I leaned on the door frame. What are you working on, buddy? He didn't look up. Something for the people who didn't come. My heart dropped. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even bitter. He was focused. I sat with that feeling for hours after he went to bed. Part of me wanted to rage text my mother and call Ryan and scream, but I knew what they'd say. My mom would say, you're overreacting, he'll get over it. Ryan would say, it's just the kid's birthday, he's 8, he'll forget. But Liam wouldn't forget, I could already tell. The next few days he kept asking me how to add music to a video, how to record his voice without it sounding weird. He asked how to line up video clips with voiceover so they matched. I offered to help, but he insisted on doing it himself. It has to be mine, he said. So I let him, and while I didn't know exactly what he was putting together, I knew it came from somewhere deep inside that little boy's heart, that place where disappointment goes when you're too proud to show it. And then, just as the sting of it all began to settle into quiet resentment, I got a message from my mom. Dinner this Sunday, everyone's coming, bring Liam. No apology, no mention of the birthday, just dinner. I was ready to say no, but Liam looked up from his cereal and said, "Can we go? I want to bring the video." That was the first time I felt it, that shift in energy, like this wasn't over yet. I almost said no when my mom sent that text. Dinner this Sunday, everyone's coming, bring Liam. It felt like a slap more than an invitation. There was no acknowledgement of what they'd missed, no, sorry we forgot his birthday, no, how's he doing, not even a late card in the mail, just a casual command as if nothing had happened. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over my phone, feeling the old familiar weight settle in my chest. That weight I used to carry every time I tried to reach out to my family, hoping they'd meet me halfway, and they never did. But before I could start typing, Liam looked up from his cereal bowl and said, "Can we go?" I paused. "You want to?" He nodded. "I want to bring the video." And just like that, everything changed. He didn't say it with bitterness. There was no reveal. In his voice, there was this calm, quiet conviction, like he had something to share and he needed an audience. I agreed, but part of me was nervous. I didn't know what was on the video. He still hadn't let me watch it, and I didn't want to set him up for more hurt if they dismissed him again. The next few days, he added little touches to his project. He asked me how to fade in music softly and how to make the screen turn black at the end. He played sections for himself with his headphones in, nodding quietly, making mental edits. "Can I wear my nice shirt on Sunday?" he asked Saturday night. "Of course." "And can I go first?" "Like before everyone gets busy." "First, yeah, before they start doing other stuff. I want them to see it before they forget." Again, his words were so gentle it made my stomach tighten. That night, after he went to bed, I sat on the couch and cried, not because I was angry anymore, but because of how much grace was in that little boy. He wasn't looking to punish them, he was trying to remind them he mattered. On Sunday, we pulled into my mom's driveway. The house was already full, cars packed along the curb, music coming faintly through the windows. I could see silhouettes of people moving around in the kitchen. My mom's boyfriend was on the porch scrolling his phone. Liam sat in the passenger seat, holding my phone in both hands like it was something sacred. "You sure you're ready?" I asked. He nodded, yeah. We walked in, and it was exactly what I expected. My mom barely looked up from chopping vegetables. Ryan was leaned against the counter, making some dumb joke to my aunt about a guy from his gym. Phones were out. No one even looked at Liam. "Hey," Ryan said flatly, glancing at him. "Birthday boy, sorry we missed it. Crazy week." Liam smiled politely, "It's okay." Karen didn't even say that much. She looked at me and said, "You look tired. Is Liam eating enough? He's looking thinner." Then she turned back to her soup. I should have said something, but Liam beat me to it. He walked to the middle of the room, stood in front of the coffee table and said, "Excuse me." Nobody stopped. Nobody looked up, so he climbed onto a chair. "Excuse me," he repeated louder this time. That got their attention. A few people paused, more out of surprise than respect. He looked at me and asked, "Mom, should I play the video I made for them?" I swallowed, "If you're ready, sweetheart." He held the phone up and pressed play, and I swear to God, the air in that room changed. The screen lit up, his voice came through the speaker, and for the first time in years, no one was talking, no one was scrolling, no one was pretending they were watching. Liam had brought his truth into that room unapologetically, clearly, and bravely, and I realized then he hadn't come for attention. He came for acknowledgement. He came to show them who he was and what they'd missed, and he was ready for whatever came next. The room was quiet now, unnaturally quiet. Liam stood on the chair like it was. As I staged my phone in both hands, the screen tilted just enough for everyone to see. He didn't look nervous. He didn't fidget or scan their faces for approval. He just pressed play. The screen lit up. The first frame was black with white words slowly fading in, things I remember about my 8th birthday. Then came the images, clips of the backyard we decorated together, the streamers flapping in the breeze, the table he'd helped me set, empty chairs waiting for people who never came, a close-up of the cake, the single candle burning on top. A shot of Liam sitting by the window watching the driveway with hope in his eyes. Then his voice. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud. It was soft, careful, thoughtful. "On my birthday I waited. I wore the shirt Grandma gave me last year. I saved the big piece of cake for Uncle Ryan because he says chocolate is his favorite. I made a joke to tell Aunt Nina, but I forgot it. That's okay. I still remember laughing at it. I didn't get a lot of presents, but that's not why I was sad. I just thought maybe someone would want to see me turn 8. I know everyone is busy, I really do. But sometimes I think if I disappeared, would they notice? And then came the clip that broke me. Liam had filmed himself holding one of the handmade party hats. His eyes looked directly into the camera. I made one for each person. I still have them. I guess I can save them for next year unless people forget again. That's okay, I remember things even when other people don't. Then the music faded, just a soft piano instrumental barely there. The screen faded to black again with the final message, I love my family. I just hope they remember I'm part of it. And that was it. No manipulation, no begging, just honesty from an 8-year-old. When the screen went dark, no one spoke. I looked around the room, scanning each face. My brother Ryan had gone pale. He was staring at the floor like the weight of something he didn't want to carry had finally dropped in his lap. My mother had her arms crossed, but her face had changed. Her lips pressed tight, her eyes glistening just enough that I knew she was fighting it. Even her boyfriend looked uncomfortable, like he'd just realized he'd walked into a family reckoning. Liam stepped down from the chair quietly and handed me the phone. He didn't smile, he didn't gloat. He just walked over to the table and picked up a dinner roll like he hadn't just rearranged the emotional structure of the room. Ryan cleared his throat. Kid, he started, then stopped. He rubbed the back of his neck. That was wow. I didn't know you. I mean, you're good with that video stuff. Liam didn't respond, he just nodded and took a bite of his roll. My mom finally spoke. She didn't look at Liam, she looked at me. I didn't realize it hurt him like that, she said. I could have said 1,000 things in that moment, but I didn't. I just let the silence hang, let them sit in it, let them feel what it was like to be on the receiving end of emotional distance. Because for once they had no excuses, no gaslighting, no minimizing. They had heard the truth directly from the one they'd ignored, and I think that made it sink in deeper than anything I could have said or shouted. The rest of dinner was different, slower, softer. No one touched their phones. They asked Liam about school, about his movie ideas, about how he made the transitions in the video. We listened, really listened, maybe for the first time in years. As we got into the car to leave, Liam buckled in and said, "That went better than I thought." "You okay?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, I think they heard me." And they did. That night I watched the video again after he fell asleep. I cried harder than I had in a long time, not from sadness but from something else. Pride, relief, and maybe a little bit of hope. Because sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths. That night after we got home from my mother's house, I tucked Liam into bed like I always do. He was still in his button-up shirt, slightly wrinkled now, a smear of chocolate from dessert on the collar. He curled up under his rocket ship blanket and pulled it to his chin. "You sure you're okay?" I asked again, brushing his hair back from his forehead. He nodded sleepily. "Yeah, I think they see me now." It was such a simple sentence, but it broke me in the best possible way because that's what he'd wanted all along. Not pity, not presence, not even an apology, just to be seen. When I closed his door, I sat on the edge of my bed and finally let myself exhale. It felt like I'd been holding my breath for years, trying to protect Liam from the people who were supposed to love him, making excuses for why they couldn't show up, why they didn't check in, why they always had something more important to do. But Liam didn't need my excuses, he gave them truth and they listened. The following week, something strange started happening. Ryan texted, just one line at first. "Can I take Liam to the arcade this weekend?" I stared at it for a long time. I didn't respond right away, but Liam saw it and lit up. "Can I go, Mom, please?" So I said yes. They went. Ryan sent me pictures. Liam holding a giant stuffed animal, grinning like he just won the lottery. He looked proud, not just happy but proud. Afterward, Ryan texted me again. "Didn't realize how cool your kid is. He's smarter than most adults I know. Reminded me I've got work to do." From Ryan, that was a novel. Then a few days later, my mom called. That alone was a surprise. She doesn't do phone calls. She prefers to communicate through dry one-word texts and passive-aggressive holiday group messages. But this time she called and she didn't ask how I was, she asked how Liam was. She said she wanted to take him to a bookstore in town that had a little reading loft she thought he'd like. She asked what kind of books he liked and if he still liked building things with Legos. It wasn't a grand transformation, but it was something. She ended the call by saying, He's got a good heart. You're doing a good job with him." I didn't know what to say. I just held the phone a little tighter and whispered, "Thank you." Because even if it took a painfully honest 8-minute video to get them there, they were finally showing signs of effort, and effort matters. But the real change wasn't in them, it was in Liam. He walked a little taller after that night. He spoke up more. He started calling himself a filmmaker and asked if we could save up for a camera. One afternoon, I overheard him on a video call with his friend Mason saying, "You know, sometimes people forget things that matter, but you don't have to yell at them, you just have to show them." I stood in the hallway, hand over my heart, trying not to cry because that's the lesson he gave me. Not all stories need shouting, not every wound needs to be explained. Sometimes the quietest truths carry the most weight. Liam taught me that the power of being seen starts with the courage to speak, even when you think no one's listening. And in that moment, standing on a chair with nothing but his voice and his phone, he reminded a room full of adults how to love better. He reminded me too. I used to think I had to fight to make space for us in this family, to push, to prove, to defend our worth. But Liam didn't push, he simply opened a window into his heart and let them look inside. And they did. That's the kind of strength I hope he keeps forever, not the kind that comes from shouting the loudest, but the kind that comes from knowing your truth is worth hearing, no matter who's in the room. Thanks for staying with me through this story. I didn't share it for sympathy. I shared it because sometimes the quietest voices in our lives are the ones we need to hear the most. Liam reminded me of that. Maybe he reminded you too. If this story touched you, if it made you think about how we show up or don't for the people who count on us, please take a second to like this video. It really helps more people find it. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you've ever been the Liam in your own family, I'd love for you to drop a comment below. Let's make this a space where people feel seen. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you want more real stories like this, raw, honest, and from the heart. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.